Wow, I can't believe they just did that. All right. Welcome back to Modern Madness. In the last video, we learned the scary truth about mental illness in movies. Mental illness is used to intensify the terror of the audience, especially through violence and a lack of recovery. If you don't like horror films though, don't worry. In this video, we're going to be looking at drama films to see just how sad the reality of mental illness in movies can be.
I opened up to you and you judged me. You're an asshole.
If you recognize this image from the last video, you'll remember that films about mental illness have a pretty strict narrative structure the stories have to follow. Movies about mental illness come from a place of stigma, meaning that with unequal power dynamics and negative language around mental illness, characters in their attempts to live with mental illness are consistently discredited. That starts a cycle of harm for the individual and their social circle. This leaves characters with the choice of biomedical recovery or social isolation. While the structure is the same for both genres, drama films show it in a different way. Let's take a look at It's Kind of a Funny Story to see exactly what's going on. The main character, Craig, considers suicide at the beginning of the film, but decides to check himself into a psychiatric unit. While in the ward, he makes and nearly breaks relationships, finally learning that to have a happy life with healthy relationships, he must participate in therapy, take his medication, and just have a positive outlook on life. Sounds simple enough, right? For Craig, it was as easy as could be, his happy ending right in front of him at the end of the movie.
Okay, I know you're thinking, what is this? Kid spends a few days in the hospital and all his problems are cured? But I'm not. I know I'm not. I can tell this is just the beginning. I still need to face my homework, my school, my friends, my dad. But the difference between today and last Saturday is that for the first time in a while, I can look forward to the things I want to do in my life.
This is a good place to mention that the majority of the drama films I examined also fell into the comedy category, but comedy seemed to be more of an accessory in these films, so it wasn't considered a specific narrative. Rather, comedy was just a tool used to exaggerate the symptoms of mentally ill characters and to remind the audience just how ridiculous mental illness could be. Welcome to Me is the ultimate example of this. The protagonist, Alice, suffers from borderline personality disorder and, you guessed it, does some pretty wild things as a result. Whether it's sobbing in a recording studio session or neutering dogs live on television, Alice provides comedic relief to the audience through almost unrealistically outrageous behaviors. Funny how that happens.
On a talk show with me as the host.
Ladies and gentlemen, meatloaf cake.
Oh, interesting. Stigma limits how plots of films about mental illness are made, and it also leaves characters with very stereotype molds they have to fit into. For example, if you're mentally ill, you have to be bad at relationships. Like Maggie and Milo from the Skeleton Twins, who epically fail at romantic relationships, either by cheating on a spouse or pursuing an unhealthy relationship with an old high school teacher.
He was confused. I felt terrible for him. Hey,
You had no right!
things were gonna crash down eventually.
No, you were just trying to get back at me.
I was trying to help you.
You just ruined my marriage.
What marriage?
Fuck you.
Look, you're miserable, and if you're too chicken shit to do anything about it, then I will.
Oh, so you know what's best for me?
Yes, you're my sister. We're supposed to help each other out. You
This
said
is
that.
different.
How?
We are adults. This is my marriage.
If you think that's a marriage, then you're fucking nuts, okay? I'm sorry. Enjoy your marital bliss.
Okay, yeah, go, leave anyway. This is not working out.
You know what the sad thing is? Is that we're a good team.
Oh, yeah, and you'd be a real hoot to have around if you weren't such a fuck-up.
We're both fuck-ups.
Don't worry though, if you're bad at relationships, you're not cursed. You're probably just emotionally unstable. Rather than always becoming violent because of tumultuous emotions, characters are just fragile and break down at any stressor. Infinitely Polar Bear is full of Cam's outbursts, whether it's his daughters, finances, or really anything else stressing him out.
So embarrassing!
We're gonna be late.
Hold on! Amelia, let's go! That's a lot of routine. You want me to pick you up after school?
Outbursts like these can also occur because characters resist treatment to the point of frustrating those around them and even harming themselves. This is perfectly exemplified by the male and female protagonists of Touched with Fire. Not only do they vehemently resist medication, but they also deny the harm that their romantic relationship brings them. Namely, being together intensifies their symptoms.
Because we both share it, we're the only ones that can relate to each other.
We're not from here, you and me.
Neither of you thinks you're from this planet? You're not healthy for one another.
I don't think it's such a bad thing.
This behavior is met with their families and mental health professionals separating them, which they then respond to with a suicide attempt, yet another trope tacked onto mental illness experiences in film. In both this movie and in Cake, suicide serves as a turning point for characters, so they can move towards recovery.
Verbalize to Nina how her suicide affected you.
I am in a lot of pain. Do you want to get better? Really?
Say it, Claire.
I do.
If they don't accept the wake-up call, however, their lives are ruined by mental illness, like the bittersweet ending of The Soloist.
What's wrong? What's this business about me having a schizophrenic mind?
It's legal jargon.
It says that I have a schizophrenic mind. I do not.
It doesn't mean anything.
I have a schizophrenic mind.
That's not what I think. Nathaniel, they try to put people in a...
I'm not going anywhere.
And the good news is it has nothing to do with it.
I don't go where you say go. I go where I want to go.
I'm pretty sure at this point you can see that there's a distinct pattern to the portrayal of mental illness in movies. Stigma successfully controls the construction of characters and stories through stereotypes. I know you're probably feeling as discouraged as I am about all of this. It seems like there's no hope, like stigma is going to have the final say in how we see things. But that doesn't have to be the case. In the last video of this series, I'm going to talk about ways that we can fight this stigma and give ourselves the accurate representation we all deserve. Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. I'm so sorry, but I gotta get back to this movie.